Boy for sale!
Pokemon Go developer Niantic is in talks to sell its games division to Scopely Inc., a California-based mobile game developer owned by Saudi-controlled Savvy Games Group, and this has caused a stir among the player base. Scopely is best known for their licensed games that include Monopoly Go and Marvel Strike Force, but have a reputation for aggressive monetization. It's hard to argue with that judgment when they were the highest-earning casual games developer with $1.6 billion in revenue for 2024. Adding Pokemon Go to their portfolio would boost those numbers by approximately 25% based on recent years' income. Of course, there's someone out there asking, do people still play that? It's hard to argue that Pokemon Go is not nearly as popular as when it took over the summer of 2016, but once the fad wore off, there was still a huge population of players that continued with the game. Over time, gameplay features were added, new generations of Pokemon were released, and communities grew around the game, with local groups coming together on Discord, Facebook, and other apps around the world. The game would actually see its peak in 2020 and 2021 as the pandemic encouraged changes to keep players active. They added quality of life improvements that made play easier in a social distancing environment, including an expanded interaction radius and the ability to join raids remotely via special passes. But Niantic has received their share of criticisms. Those same quality of life improvements that were added during the pandemic became a point of contention, as the player base wanted them made permanent, while Niantic wished to roll things back. Compromises were made. Some new features have left players confused by their execution. Gigantamax and Dynamax Pokemon, first introduced in Sword and Shield, have limited use and require large groups of trainers to defeat, something that has become more difficult to come by as communities have dwindled since the pandemic. Perhaps Niantic had hoped to reinvigorate local playgroups, but as the G-Max Pokemon feel almost like a separate minigame, I have not found evidence that this has encouraged more group play. Finally, and perhaps most controversially, in April 2024, Niantic rolled out new player avatars that, well, uglified everyone and left the community angry. One of Niantic's primary monetization methods has long been tied to avatar cosmetics, allowing those who are interested to constantly change their avatar's clothing and accessories. But when these premium items no longer appeared as they once did, it felt like a bait and switch for those who had spent money on their costumes. The stated goal of the new avatar system was, in part, to allow for more customization, but as we've seen with other character creators, they missed the mark in an attempt to remove gender norms from the game, having worked with consultants from the firm GamerX.
Real boobs? Whatever that is.
Players had been asking for more customization options for years, but they didn't want a complete overhaul that ruined the default model in the process. Of course, Niantic's marketing would cause a stir when they advertised Sun and Moon tiaras as part of their GoFest 2024 campaign. The ad used the old avatars, which meant no one could be certain how these tiaras would look on the new models. Or perhaps their marketing folks simply preferred the looks of the old models. Niantic hasn't even changed the Team Rocket Grunt models, which are based on the old avatars. It should also be noted that Niantic has been adding new monetization opportunities to Pokemon Go in the form of paywalled events, oftentimes using such events to debut new Pokemon. It may not be pay to win, but it can sometimes be pay to catch. But as a potential sale looms, players who've been critical of Niantic are wondering if this is a case of the devil you know versus the devil you don't. With the news that Scopely could be taking control of Pokemon Go, concerns over these types of monetization schemes have grown, as exemplified by the internet's most common language, the meme. Scopely purchased Foxnext, the developer of Marvel Strike Force, in 2020, and it has become a pure pay-to-win game.
As the game's lifespan approaches the start of its 5th year, the transactions feel less micro, as offers ranging from $50 to $100 a pop are more common in the game's marketplace, in addition to 2 simultaneous battle passes that set purchasing players back $20 each per month.
On a side note, I'll never quite understand those who spend this type of money on a mobile game, when you can get so much more gameplay out of PC and console games for much less money. But I digress. Scopely were themselves purchased by Savvy Games for $4.9 billion in 2023. Savvy Games is part of the Saudi Public Investment Fund, essentially making them owned by the Saudi royal family. Pokemon Go fans aren't exactly excited by the idea that they may see themselves contributing to the oppressive Saudi regime. But there is one hope with regards to the management of Pokemon Go. Unlike most companies that license their IPs to developers, the Pokemon Company tends to hold a tighter leash on what these independent companies can do with their brand. And the Pokemon Company International has a vested interest in the success of Pokemon Go, including it amongst the games offered as part of their championship series. To those out of the loop, yes, Pokemon Go has PvP. And they have a world championship right alongside the mainline video game championship and the trading card game. And there's very little pay to win involved with Pokemon Go PvP, as it truly requires grinding to build a team with the desired stats. There is no IV training, no breeding, and trading doesn't help at all, as stats are re-rolled when a Pokemon is traded in Go. If you wish to build a PvP team in Go, you truly have to catch them all. But there's only so much the Pokemon Company can do, and if Scopely wants to make Pokemon Go more cost-intensive, I think it's safe to say that they will lose a lot of the casual players who simply catch, spin, and battle as they go about their daily lives. Though I suppose if Scopely wants to make money, they could offer players the opportunity to purchase their old avatars back. That could be the single greatest revenue earner in the history of the game.